Greetings, everyone. I'm Javeria Malik. I'm working with an international human rights and campaigning organization as their global security advisor. I'd like to thank the organizers and sponsors of the Women in Security virtual conference, and very glad to be speaking to you today. During my conversation, I will talk about how my organization has been dealing with the COVID-19 crisis, what have been our key challenges, and what is it that we have learned. I hope you will indulge me for the next 20 minutes or so. Dealing with crises is almost a routine part of every security risk manager's job. We not only prepare for these situations, but are always ready to spring into action when duty calls. With over 10 years of international security experience and having dealt with a multitude of crises, including health situations, Ebola, Zika virus, SARS, MERS, one would think that we're sufficiently prepared for yet another health scare. But COVID-19, caused by a novel strain of coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, has proven to be a unique and, might I say, difficult situation for even the best of us to grapple with. As we all know, the novel coronavirus was first detected in Wuhan, China, before the World Health Organization declared it as a public health emergency of international concern, and that was in late January. It was at that point that we, like many organizations, alerted a federation-wide crisis response. Similar to any client-focused enterprise, an NGO's business model heavily relies on its ability to reach out to its stakeholders, which in this case are the most marginalized communities, often living in remote areas and in volatile or unstable political contexts. COVID-19 posed a direct challenge to our core business model. We had the obligation to, on one hand, protect our staff and partners from an exposure to the virus, yet at the same time continue our life-saving work for the most vulnerable communities, including women, men, children, persons with disabilities, and the elderly. So today I'm going to share with you what strategies we employed to create a balance between our core business of helping the poorest of the poor and protecting the health and safety of our staff. I'm also going to reflect on our challenges and lessons learned. And might I add, since the pandemic is nowhere near over, the learning continues. Our crisis response and recovery strategy had 5 key components. The first one is crisis coordination and communication. So at the headquarters, we had an international crisis management team that was activated, and it was supported by about 46 sub-teams or country teams across the 46 countries where we work. The purpose of these teams was to have a coherent and coordinated approach to the situation at hand and have a whole organization outlook, instead of, let's say, a fragmented approach. The second component of our crisis strategy was ways of working or operating model. We had to switch from physical offices to virtual office environment and restrict all domestic and international business travel. Now, as a global organization, it's not unusual for some of our staff to occasionally work from home and work flexible hours to cater to different time zones. Yet the cold turkey work from home scenario had its fair share of challenges, which we needed to address, and we did. So, however, as the lockdowns and other restrictions eased, we strategized a phased office reopening and resumption of essential business travel with strict adherence to health and safety protocols, all guided by science. The third component of our strategy was duty of care to staff and partners. This was one of the most important areas of focus. Staff safety and security was the #1 priority. At the same time, mental health and well-being was an integral part of our crisis response. Now I'm going to show you a little video just to give you an idea of the fourth component of our strategy, which was program delivery. pandemic, we had to halt any direct interaction with the communities because we were duty bound to protect staff and others and not become a source of the spread of the virus. However, we were able to equip our teams with proper personal protective equipment and all the health protocols and non-pharmaceutical interventions, etc., so that they could safely resume programs. Then in early April in 2020, we launched a massive and widespread humanitarian response, which was 100% community-led. We provided food, hygiene products, personal protective equipment, and other forms of direct support to the most vulnerable communities. The fifth and last part or component of our crisis response and recovery strategy was business resumption and recovery. And this had to be done according to new rules, or something that we now understand as a new normal. And this is the phase that we're currently working through until probably mid next year. So that has been our crisis response and recovery strategy. Now I'm going to talk to a few challenges. In fact, I have two challenges that I like to talk to. So challenge number one was setting up and getting used to virtual workplace across our global operations, not just internally, but with our external stakeholders as well, such as communities and smaller local organizations. This virtual mode of interaction was challenging in two major ways. One, access to technology in many parts of the world where we work, and two, the cultural and language barrier. And the second big challenge that I'd like to speak to is the financial sustainability. Because NGOs usually generate funds through individual donations or institutional grants, but with the COVID situation now, the world economy is seeing a great recession. It's probably the worst in our recent history. And people's ability to earn, make a living, and have financial sustainability is all very challenged at the moment. And this has had a direct bearing on any NGO's ability to raise funds for their critical work. And now, my friends, I'm going to talk about a few lessons that we learned along the way. And like I said, learning continues. First lesson, effective leadership. Effective leadership is crucial, especially in times of crisis. It builds credibility, trust, reassurance. You know, the leaders may not have all the facts or all the answers, but leadership must be visible in the time of crisis. This, very fortunately, has been a success story on our part. Second learning, organizational preparedness and resilience. That's critical for survival, coupled with organizational agility and openness to change, to adopt the new normal. Learning number three, well, very important. Staff well-being, their emotional and mental health, and their work-life balance should be at the top of the agenda at all times, not just during a crisis. And last but not the least, something that's so close to my heart, inequality is real. Many think that the pandemic has been a great equalizer, but the fact is that the social, economic, and political divide and disparity that we see now is nothing like we've ever witnessed before, be it educational systems, healthcare systems, or even gender relations. So inequality is real. That is nothing new. We knew it all along, but this pandemic has just really exposed those inequalities in a way that probably was never done before. So that's all from me. I thank you for your time and I look forward to your feedback.